Yeah, I believe I am live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sincerely Agile with Mary. Now, this is the show where we learn, unlearn, and relearn, where we make change agents of ourselves. We're awesome and wholesome together. So, if you're joining us for the first time, please subscribe to our channel, Sincerely Agile with Mary. Now, today we have an interesting topic as always, and it is coaching up or coaching upwards, if you like. And some even say managing up. And to join me in this amazing conversation today, because we do need this conversation, is Anu Smalley. And I'm just going to bring her to the screen. Hello, Anu. How are you?
Hi, Mary. I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It's so good to have you on the show. Thank you for making time.
Oh, I'm happy to be here, Mary. Thank you for having me.
How have you been during these COVID times?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I've basically stayed inside. We've I have two young girls. They've both been away at college. So it's been a little hard because we need to figure out how to stay in touch with them, how to take care of them, take care of ourselves. It's been a bit challenging, but on the whole, given that I used to travel a lot for work, I'm actually happy that I got to spend so much time at home with my family.
Yeah, as a consultant, you're on the move a lot, isn't it? I,
Absolutely.
I mean, for myself, before COVID, I had just rounded up in Brussels for,
Ah,
I think that was for a year. I was going back and forth between England and Brussels.
mhm.
So I totally understand how that feels.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm not missing that travel at all.
Me neither. I'm not missing
Mm.
that travel much.
Mhm.
I think once the world is slightly safer, I would be willing to go do some travel. I think that might be fun, but it's been a very interesting year.
It has been an interesting year. And, I was saying on one of my shows the other day that for a very long time, we talked about work life balance,
Yeah.
but we never did achieve that for the most part, did we?
No.
And also that we always had the infrastructure to work remotely to this extent, but we never really embraced it that much.
That's true. And I also will say that working remotely does not mean work life balance.
It
Because
doesn't.
it doesn't, because I can tell you there have been so many days where my husband calls out and says, "It's 7 o'clock. Are you going to be done working?" So, because you're here and it's easy to do stuff
To
and
just
get,
going
yep,
and going and going.
yep, and get stuck into this whole idea of one more thing. I'm going to just do one more thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I know it doesn't necessarily mean work-life balance, but we got to see our families more,
Yes.
We got
Yeah,
to see our families more. And a
absolutely.
guest was saying on the show the other day that, you know what? Now I know my neighbors. I didn't know my neighbors before.
Very true, because there's
Right?
so many times that you feel like we took walks in the neighborhood, and that was really good because you see all your neighbors and you're going, "Hey."
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
We have a few people join us now. Let's see who's here. We've got Ronke here. Hello, Ronke. How are you? Nice to have you here. Where are you calling from? London, as usual, I guess. These are my usual audience.
Nice.
So let me introduce Anu to us. Let me just bring up your bio. Now, Anu is the president and founder of Kapala Consulting Group,
Mhm.
where she specializes in executive coaching and agile transformations. She is Scrum Alliance accredited certified Scrum trainer, certified enterprise coach, certified agile leadership educator, and certified path to CSP educator. Anu has helped companies in banking, insurance and reinsurance, travel, gaming software, legal, benefits, management, software consulting, and healthcare. She has more than 13 years of agile implementation, coaching, and transformation experience. As a community leader, Anu has chaired Scrum Alliance, global Scrum gatherings for 3 years, speaks frequently at conferences and meetups around the world. Anu actively contributes to Women in Agile and other volunteer initiatives with Scrum Alliance. Now, what an impressive resume you have there. What an impressive resume. And not only that, though, I also noticed that everything about that was just work, work, work. What do
Mm.
you do when you're not working? What do you do?
I love reading books. I love cooking with my husband.
Right?
We love watching movies and we like to travel. Although this past
Fantastic.
year, travel has been not what we've been able to do in the past, but
Absolutely.
we love traveling. So we like to do small trips. A lot of times when I was traveling, my husband would come join me and then we would make a weekend trip. Yeah, so reading, movies, music, and dance,
Hmm.
and traveling. And
Fantastic.
yeah, and we love cooking together. That's
That's interesting.
we enjoy.
At least it's a good thing he loves cooking as well. So on the days you
Well,
can't cook,
he likes to help me cook, and now just more recently, he's starting to take a more interest in cooking himself. So yeah, the days I can cook, he steps in. So it's a good partnership.
exactly. And that's how it should be, actually.
Mhm.
Now, our topic for today, coaching up. Now, this has always been important, will continue to be important. But here's a statement we hear from time to time:
Mhm.
people don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad bosses.
Mhm.
Now, I'm thinking it takes two to tango, right? It takes two
Good.
to tango. Yeah. So, what's your take on that?
So I will add something to that. It's not just people don't just leave bad bosses, they also leave toxic cultures,
Nice one.
right? Um, and I believe there is every person, as human beings, as workers in organizations, we are responsible for the world around us, up, down, sideways, right? You said something earlier when we started off about coaching up, that it used to be called managing up. I will say coaching up and managing up are very different as they're recognized. I remember when I first became a leader, when I was promoted to my first management position, super exciting back in the days. And I remember the advice I was given was um, you need to make sure that you are managing up. And I was like, I don't understand what that means. So this was somebody from the HR department, and they said, well, your job is to make sure your boss is happy. I'm like, are you sure that's my job? I thought my job was to make sure my team is happy. And they said, no, managing up is a core function of every level of management. So, and what I realized that what they meant by managing up was manage the work upwards. So, hey, boss, let me give you a status report. Hey, boss, let me come to you and tell you what my team is doing. Now, we don't want to be managing up because if we are going to manage up, we are not going to have any time to lead our people. Because managing up means you're going to manage tasks, you're going to manage status reports, you're going to manage all these things that are very time consuming and don't allow you to do other stuff. What we want to do is coach up. And what that means is we create an environment where we also look out for our bosses. There's no harm in looking to your boss and saying, hey, are you okay? You seem a bit off. How may I be of service to you? It, as you said, it takes two to tango.
Yeah.
You can't just do this by yourself. So maybe we start looking at our bosses as not as the hierarchical top down people who are going to tell us what to do. Instead, we look at it as a relationship. Build a coaching relationship. So look at your boss and say, hey, let me coach you into what I need from you. Like when I became a new manager, I had no idea what my team needed from me. I stumbled my way through it until one of my team members actually said in one of my one on one meetings, I said, how am I doing? Am I doing okay? What do you think? And she looked at me and she said, you know, what would be very effective for me if you could do this? I'm like, I can do that. So coaching up is important so that we build the environment where everybody can thrive.
Absolutely. It does take two. And like you
That's
said, it's not just living bad bosses, it is living bad cultures. And if we have a toxic environment,
Mhm.
we then need to ask ourselves. I mean, if we're talking about psychological safety here, to say,
Mhm.
okay, but what do I do? How do I show up to
Right,
make the environment safer, right?
right. And if my boss or my boss's boss is making the culture toxic, I should not be thinking, well, what can I do? He's two levels above me. I can't help. I
Mm,
need to learn skills to coach up so that they realize the impact they're having, so that they realize the culture they're creating. Creating
absolutely.
culture, culture starts at the top, but we
Yep.
all have a responsibility to help build that culture.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the point I was trying to make, that
Yeah.
you can't just wish it.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. If wishing it would is all it would take,
Yeah.
oh my God, the world would be very different, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we can't just wish it. We have to, ask ourselves, what
Mm-hmm.
part do we have to play here?
Exactly.
Uh, I'm just
Exactly.
trying to see who we have here. Okay, great topic tonight. Thank you, Emmanuel. And that's Emmanuel calling there. I often like to carry our audience along. I'm just trying to see if we have a question already.
Mhm.
Now, for those of you who have just joined us, have you ever left an organization because of a bad boss? Let's share that with you.
I have.
Have you? Oh, you have? Okay, let's hear it from you. It
I
says here
have.
people don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad bosses. So have you ever left a bad boss?
I have.
You want to tell us about that?
Sure. This is one of the organizations that I was super excited to join, and in a course of a year and a half, I had multiple bosses. My first two bosses I really liked. They were good. They were good people. They treated me well. The last boss I got, he was strange. Um, he wouldn't talk to me much during the year, and like I was director of technology, so I did a lot of projects, global implementations of projects and stuff. And at the end of the year, when I had to have my performance appraisal, we sat down. We sat down, and he goes, so I've heard nothing from him all year, right? And my office is two doors down from him. So every time he goes outside to pick up printer, pick up coffee, he has to pass my office. He's not said much to me about my performance at all. And then here in the performance appraisal, he tells me, um, so we have some concerns about your performance. I'm like, really? All right,
Yeah.
tell me what it is. He goes, well, throughout the year, I've heard a lot of people tell me that your communication style is not very good. You're very brisk. You need to work on your communication style. I'm like, okay, I'm very direct, and I get that sometimes I can be, yeah, okay. I said, if you can tell me who said something, I'll go work with them. I'll figure out what is it about my communication that didn't work for them, and I'll change and I'll do better. I'll work with them to see what is it they need. He goes, well, I cannot tell you who said anything.
Okay.
I'm like, okay. Um, can you tell me what was said? Because if you tell me what was said, then I can go fix stuff. He goes, well, No, I can't tell you what was said either because then you'll figure out who said it. I'm like, okay, can you tell me three things I should do differently so next year I do better? He goes, well, I'm struggling with that because if I tell you some things, you'll know who complained about you, and because I think I need you to do some more introspection and figure. I'm like, wait, this whole year you're telling me I communicated poorly, the entire year, and you didn't tell me in January, February, March, all the 11 months. You're telling me in December that I sucked the whole year, and you can't tell me what I'm
Mhm.
doing wrong, who thinks I'm doing anything wrong, or what are things I can improve. But it is my goal next year to improve. Is that right? He goes, yeah, yeah. And I said, okay, thank you for that. And we continued, and I was sitting in shock. I came home that day and I asked my husband, I said, so if I quit tomorrow, can we handle finances? And I talked through stuff. He goes, you'll get a job like in a heartbeat. Yeah, quit. So I walked in the next day and I said, I quit. He said, oh, do you have a job lined up? I'm like, nope. He goes, so do you need more time in your resignation? I'm like, nope. If you're good, I'm out today. He goes,
Wow.
what do you mean? You're not even giving me 2 weeks notice? I'm like, if you want 2 weeks notice, I'm happy to be here. But I am not going to send out a single email. I'm not going to talk to anybody because I'm bad at that, remember? So in the 2 weeks I'm here, any communication that I want to send out, I'm going to come to you and you can send it out.
Wow.
And he goes, oh, okay. Okay. And the next, I stayed there 2 more weeks. And like literally, Mary, he has to pass my office to go pick up coffee, any of his printouts, anything. He didn't talk to me for 2 weeks. He didn't say a single word. I would send my emails to him and I say, I would like this email sent to the Asian, blah, 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 blah. I would like this email sent to the Australian, blah, blah, blah. And he would just forward my emails. I'm like, so what? Now my communication is okay? And even at the last day when everybody stopped by to say, hey, good luck. And, people are saying, so do you have a job? I'm like, nope. They said, you just quit. I'm like, yep, the day after my performance appraisal. So everybody got the point as well. Um, and the kicker is he didn't think he had done anything wrong or
Yeah.
anything. He thought he was an amazing leader.
Yeah. If people don't know any better.
Talk about a bad boss.
If
Your
people don't know
performance
any better.
appraisal, your performance appraisal should never be a surprise,
It
ever.
shouldn't. It shouldn't be a surprise at all. And I mean, the best, I mean, the least he could have done was to at least give
Yeah,
you some pointers to say, okay, I think you can improve here or here or here, because that's the whole point of our appraisals,
exactly.
right? How can we, get better and better as we go along? Let's see. I've got Hello, Stella. Stella is joining us from Unman. Oh, you don't have to apologize, Stella. We're talking about coaching up and we're talking about bad bosses. Anu just told us how she left a bad boss, but also because of unsupportive colleagues, too. Absolutely. Now, I'm talking to the audience now, do you have any story of having left because of a bad boss? If you have any of those, please share it with us. So let me go to my next question for you, Anu.
Hmm.
So, what does coaching up mean? What does coaching up mean?
So for me, coaching up is when you build an environment or build a relationship with the people in your organization who are hierarchically above you. It doesn't have to be one level, it could be two levels, four levels, it doesn't matter. It's not about, here, let me coach you. It's about, can I build an environment working with you so
Hmm.
that we can create a culture that is conducive for people to be happy.
Yeah,
For me,
yeah,
that's the fundamental. What does coaching up mean? A lot of times, so think about like my generation when when we were promoted to management positions, we never had leadership or training. We had management training. We were taught how to do timesheets and year-end appraisals. We were never taught how to coach, how to develop people, how to grow people. We were just there to manage the work.
Yeah. It was very
So
mechanical, very, very
very
mechanical.
mechanical. Get
Yeah.
the job done.
Done.
So
Yeah.
now these are the same people who are my generation who are at senior level positions. Some of us still don't know what it means to be a leader. Some of us still are in that old mechanical get the job done
Mindset.
mindset.
Yeah.
The coaching up is a way to help those people who believe that managing and leading is the same thing, to help them understand no, it's not. Management is managing the work, the task, the job. Leading is growing, developing your people so that they can get the job done. But if
That's
we
it.
but we need to focus on growing up people so that they can figure out on how to manage their own work.
And that is what I also love about Agile is,
Hmm.
the focus is on the people
On
and
the
creating the
people.
right environment, because when you
Exactly.
have all that going, they will get the job done even better than you ever imagined they could,
Exactly. When you have all that
do.
going, magic
Absolutely.
happens.
Oh dear. Oh yes, magic does happen. Let's see, what have we got here? Okay. Okay. Stella is saying something. My boss now is exceptional and I adore her. She has my
Mm-hmm.
complete loyalty because she's loyal to me. It's a two-way relationship. I totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Relationship. You will need a whole show for me to talk about some of my bad experiences with bad bosses. Okay, we'll invite you to do that, Stella. Okay, so back to your questions, Anu. When might one need to coach upwards? What should we be aware of? What should we be sensitive to think, you know what? I think I better put on this coaching hat and start coaching upwards.
So for me, it's all the time.
Okay.
Things don't have to be bad for you to coach up. If your boss has had a fantastic day, coach up. To say, hey, boss, don't forget this
Yeah.
wonderful, amazing thing that you've just experienced. Right? Let's not lose sight of that to say
Hmm.
uh, good stuff is also required to be coached, because we human beings, we tend to get happy about the good stuff. And then when bad stuff happens, we remember the bad stuff, we forget the good stuff. So coach up to help your bosses remember the good stuff. Coach
Hmm.
up to help your bosses understand what you need from them. Coach up to help your bosses understand that management and leadership are two
Hmm.
different things. So that means, when should you coach up? All the time. All the time.
All the time. So you really need to be quite observant, looking at what you could leverage on, looking for
Mhm.
those coaching moments and to just leverage that. And looking at,
Absolutely.
what is it they are going through right now? Are they under pressure?
Mhm.
What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? We really need to look out for that, isn't it?
Absolutely. And think of this.
Hmm.
So, if any one of your listeners, if you have kids,
Yeah.
do you choose when you're going to coach them? As a
Hmm.
parent, you are constantly in a coaching position, because you're looking at, every day is a learning opportunity for them.
Yeah. That is
Same
so
thing,
true.
same thing applies to people at work.
Hmm. Absolutely, I know. Absolutely. Now, would you say, given all that's been happening around us now, that, this conversation is even more important now? And if so, why?
100% more important. And here's why. Um, as I as I've been coaching leaders through this past year, I've
Hmm.
found a lot of the senior leaders have a lot of responsibility on their shoulders.
Yeah.
Getting remote work done, making sure the job is getting done, making sure customers are happy, making sure people understand remote work is not for everyone, and what do you need to do. So, this is a huge struggle for every level of leadership. For this reason, I think every leader in every organization should have a coach, whether
Hmm.
it's a formal coach or an informal, hey, boss, let's have a chat. I have set up in some of my client organizations um, what I call coaching relationships, which is, so if I have a boss, I've set up things where I and my boss coach each other. So when we do a one-on-ones every
Mm-hmm.
week or every however long you do it, you do an hour-long thing where the first 10 minutes are, hey, how you doing? Then we do 15 minutes of coaching both ways so that we are able to figure out what's on our mind. And then the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so, we talk about, okay, so what do we need to do to focus on our people? And the last 5 minutes is close up. So I've actually created a pattern where the relationship of a manager and a person reporting to them can actually be a mutual coaching relationship. And that means that all of these people
Hmm.
need to learn some basic coaching skills.
I was just going to say that means we really need to invest in coaching skills.
Absolutely.
Um, Even us coaches have a coach. Absolutely, Stella.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
I meet with my coach twice a month.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Very, very important. And we really need to invest in that. Um, so, given that this is quite important at a time like this, would you then say that the remote working um, doesn't then present so much challenge if we have a culture that has invested in this kind of mindset, as
I w-
opposed to having one that hasn't?
I'm not going to say no issues. I'm going to say less issues.
Yeah, less
Right?
issues.
Um, Remote work is not for everyone. I'll give you an example. My husband, for example, remote work, not his cup of tea. He is an extrovert. He needs people around him. If he sits in front of the computer on Zoom for too long, he goes nuts and he needs to go work out, run, do something, but not be on video or on the computer all the time.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I am an introverted extrovert. So, what that means is because of my job and what I do, I'm good with social skills. Like I do meetups like this. I publicly speak at conferences from ranging from 50 people to 1,500 people. I have
Yeah.
no issues with that. I have no issues with talking about the work I do.
Yeah.
But I don't make, but I am not like my husband. I don't connect with people as easily as he does. He can talk to any human being on the planet. He can talk to the rock. I take time. So for
Mm.
me, when you do remote work, there will be fewer issues if people like him have help, right? And they're able to say, all right, so you don't work well with remote work, so let's adjust your schedule. Let's do something for you. And for Anu, hey, you are comfortable with this, so let's figure out this. So I think you're going to have fewer issues.
Mm-hmm.
There are never going to be zero issues because we are
Definitely.
people.
We are
We're all
people.
human beings, and as
Yeah,
long as this exists, we will have issues.
absolutely. Human beings are complex, isn't it? We are complex.
Absolutely.
I like that answer. So, what are the strategies for coaching upwards?
Hmm.
What might we engage in to do this and to do it well, do it successfully?
Um, so I'll tell you a story and then I will give you a couple of ideas.
Okay.
So back in the days when I was internal coach for an organization. This is my first foray into full-time coaching, right? Until then, I was doing more of, I was a product owner and I was also coaching. But this is first time I was the agile coach, so I had all the answers. People came to me for answers, and that was scary. The team I was coaching, my boss's boss had he would love dropping into all the team's scrum meetings, retrospectives. He would pop in and he would say, I'm just popping in because I want you to know that I'm supportive. And he would come to sprint planning and daily scrum, which is nice, but it kind of made the team go, why is he here?
Yeah.
Made them a bit uncomfortable. And we were a new team. So they told me, Anu, you get to go tell him, because you're the coach, you get to go tell him not to come. And I'm going to be fired. I have to go coach my boss's boss and actually tell him not to come to my team's meetings. I am so fired. And I remember I talked to a bunch of people. I had lots of different, I read books and I read blogs, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I was talking to a close friend of mine, and I told her, I said, I'm struggling with this. What do I do? And she went, well, you want to practice on me? I'm like, okay, but you have to be a very hard person. You can't be nice to me because he's not going to be nice to me. So we practiced. I practiced a couple of times. And then I kept telling my husband, I'm going to be fired. I'm going to be fired. So I walked into the office and I said, so I set up a one-on-one with him. And I said, so I want to discuss some options. I want to discuss some things about the teams I'm coaching with you. I wanted to share some of my insights. And he goes, okay, sure. I'd love to hear that. You know me, I'm all about helping my teams. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I said, I'd love to, if you're okay with it, maybe we can go to the cafeteria and just sit, because I knew if he sat in his office, it would become very formal. So I said, why don't we, I'm dying for a cup of coffee. Would you mind if we just got a cup of coffee and sat in the cafeteria? He goes, oh, that's a great idea. So look at the environment you're trying to coach them in. Don't coach them in their offices. In the offices, there is always an inequality of positions because they're sitting behind the desk and you're not.
Status difference.
Status difference. So make sure you do this in an environment where that status is not there. That's not predominantly obvious at all times. At no point did I tell him, so Mike, let me coach you. That would have been short way of getting fired. So don't use the word, let me coach you, right? I just said, I'd like to share some insights that I've seen in the organization. And I want to make sure you're aware of what's happening. I said, okay. And I said, and I started digging into the idea of, so Scrum is all about psychological safety. And psychological safety happens when the team feels comfortable to talk about stuff. And I said, it's taken me a long time to build that safety with my team. And he goes, why? Don't they trust you? I'm like, they do, but trust and psychological safety are very different. I said, for example, the team completely trusts you because they know you have their back. They know anytime they come to you, you will support them 100%. And he goes, I sense there's a but coming. I said, well, and instead of but, let's do
exactly.
And, right? I said, they do trust you and they need to do some work by themselves without leadership in the room so that they can talk about the stuff. He goes, but I'm completely open to that. I said, I know that, and they know that. So they need to do this first and then come to you and talk to you about it. So that when they come to you, they have clarity in what they need to tell you. He goes, oh, yeah. I said, because there's no point in wasting your time for an hour while they're trying to muddle through stuff. So let them, what I'm proposing is let them muddle through stuff. And then when they're ready, we'll bring you in and then present to you what our ideas are. He goes, oh, that's a good thing, because often I get very frustrated in these meetings because they keep going round and round. I'm like, exactly. So so this is about a good strategy. frame the conversation, right? Be mindful of how you're talking to them. Consider your person's personality, their temperament. Um, so, and just be very, very patient and go slow. I actually, once we got done with this, um, month or so later, by this time, he was asking me to come to him once a week and have this conversation because it was really helpful to him. And he said, and I asked him, I said, one day we were talking, and I said, Mike, the first time when I came into your office to talk to you, I was very sure you were going to fire me because I was trying to have a very different conversation with you. And he said, oh, you came this close. I'm like, really? So what stopped me? He goes, it was your approach. You did not come into my office and say, you are not doing right things. Let me help you. You told me what your team needed. You shared the impact I was having on them. And I'm like, exactly. So what I did was, this is one of my favorite techniques of all times, especially when coaching up or coaching to your peers. It's called impact feedback,
Hmm.
or it's called the SBII, the situational behavior impact intention feedback. It comes from an organization called Center for Creative Leadership.
Hmm.
And the way you approach there is you tell people not about what behavior they're doing, but the impact that's having on people,
Impact.
right? There's a saying, we judge ourselves on our intention, we judge others on their impact. So if I say, so suppose I say something hurtful to you, Mary, and you say, I know that was very hurtful. I'll say, I'm so sorry, Mary, I didn't mean to hurt you. That was not my intention. So now you need to get over it. But if the situation is reversed and you hurt me and I say, Mary, that was hurtful, and you say, but Anu, that was not my intention, I'm so sorry. My normal reaction is, doesn't matter what your intention is. I was hurt.
Yeah.
So intention versus impact. So when you're coaching up, focus on impact.
Mm-hmm.
Not I mean, show them the impact their behavior is having. Don't go after the behavior. Because the
Absolutely.
minute you tell people you are not allowing my teams to do this, they get very defensive.
I mean, the moment you start with you statement,
You done.
you, you,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
put up the barrier. So you just want to be as far away as possible from you statements.
Exactly. So it's like my team feels, my team felt, my I saw that my team. It just doesn't raise that defensive barrier up, so you can actually have a conversation.
Yeah, fantastic. It's about expressing the feelings, the impact that they are having, and letting them see what that
Mhm.
behavior is doing to people, as opposed to, I
Yeah,
want to coach you, or this is what you're doing. We have
right.
some comments and questions, I think. Um, okay, Stella. It's about boundaries in the workplace, especially when it comes to trust. People
Mhm.
misinterpret trust with friendship, especially with bosses. What have you got to say to that, Anna?
100%. I think it's very hard for most people to compartmentalize. So it's good to set boundaries. Um, I've had friendships with the people I have led, but I've always been able to say, when I'm in the office, it's not your
Mm-hmm,
friend speaking.
mm-hmm,
I need to do something different. Um, there are people who are never comfortable with those boundaries, so they always keep those boundaries really tight, right? And they say, I am not going to make friends with the people who work for me. And
mm-hmm.
that's okay. If you are capable of having those flex boundaries, good. But boundaries are absolutely key. Trusting, if your people trust you, it does not mean you are their friend. It does not mean they are your friend. Absolutely.
Fantastic, Anu. And from the responses you have given, I'm picking out some stuff from that.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be observant.
You need
We
to be
need to,
observant.
we need to understand our bosses.
Mm-hmm.
And it is important that we don't come in trying to change people. We don't try to be a transformer,
Yeah,
right?
because here's the thing, the people who actually help us transform
Mhm.
are never trying to transform us. They're just talking to us and we transform ourselves. Nobody can transform you except you.
Mm. Absolutely.
All we
Absolutely.
can do is create the space where you go, huh, I'm going to try that. And
Mm.
that's how the wheels of change happen.
Mm. Absolutely. So we really also need to focus on relationships from what I'm hearing from
Mhm.
you. We need to focus on
Coaching
relationships. It's all
Coaching is
about
all
relationship.
about relationships. It's about
Absolutely.
nothing else. So we often say that in a coaching relationship or when you get to coaching, it
Mm-hmm.
always there is a it's a triad, right? In a coaching relationship. You have the coach, you have the coachee, and you have the coaching relationship. The power in that triad does belong to the coaching relationship, not to
Mm-hmm.
the coach or the coachee.
Absolutely. It's a relationship that you can, that comes about. That is what,
That's
enables the success.
absolutely.
What else can you share with us when it comes to strategies?
Um, so I've always, like I said, I've looked at frame the conversation, consider how your boss reacts, environment, set the environment, be mindful of how you speak, no you statements, no blaming statements. Um, and I always like to, I'm a big believer in acronyms. So I heard this acronym where um, somebody had told me this. So think before you provide feedback. And the think stands for every comment that you make should be true,
Mm-hmm.
helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind. Think. So,
Yeah.
how every time you have a coaching conversation,
Yeah.
make sure
Think.
your comments are true, helpful, inspiring,
Inspiring.
necessary, and kind. So, think before you speak.
Absolutely. And that's a good one for when people also make comments on social media.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
I think that's a very good one for people to remember. Think, make sure it's true, it's helpful, it's inspiring, it's necessary, and it is kind.
Kind.
Social media, that's a topic for another day.
Oh
That's a
my
topic for
God.
another
As,
day.
as Stella said, you lead about 10 shows
I know, I
social
know, I
media.
know, I know. Now, some of the benefits I would imagine if I'm trying to coach upwards would also be for my benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely for my benefit also. And that could be, like we said before, to contribute to a beautiful workspace, contribute to psychological safety. It
Mm-hmm.
could also be so that I can work better. Can you talk to us more, a little bit more about benefits for the coach now, not the coachee?
So, one of the things I believe strongly in, if you need something, you need to ask for it. You cannot wait for
Hmm.
people to recognize, oh, let me think through and say, oh, this is what Anu needs and I should give it to her.
Hmm.
People can't read my mind.
Mm-hmm.
The big part of the coach here in this particular situation,
Mm-hmm.
you're coaching up, is asking for what you need and
Mm-hmm.
asking for what your team needs through the coaching conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my team needs some space to have these conversations.
Yeah.
Ask for that, but
Hmm.
that's done through coaching. So for me, the benefits there are all about um, if you don't tell people what you want, you'll never get it.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
think your boss does not understand you, have a conversation, because if you don't have that conversation, the only thing that's going to happen is your boss will never ever understand you because
Hmm.
nothing will change.
Nothing will change. Absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, that's one of the questions I have here for you. But before we get to that one, I said here, what if you are met with resistance?
It's not a what if. Every coach, every client I've ever had, there'll always be resistance. Our job as a coach is to learn the skills to understand why there's resistance,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've actually coached people like in the very beginning of my career. I met with resistance, and I realized in that situation, it was not my boss, it was just coaching somebody else in the organization. And what I realized in that moment, that my personality was not the right fit to coach this person.
Okay.
So I had no ego, and I just found another coach for that person, and it
Mm-hmm.
worked out well.
And
So
that is very important. We need to know,
yeah,
when to call on. I mean, this is part of the training we get anyway. You need to know when to
absolutely.
call on somebody else to help you out if you have to.
Absolutely, because you coaching it, like we said, coaching is about building that relationship. You are not going to have great relationships with every human being on the planet. Some people you're just not going to get along well because you're different. You there's lots of friction there, right? And that's okay. You don't have to be the coach for every person. If you think your boss is not you're not the best coach for them, go talk to some of your peers
Yeah.
and say, hey, so I'm not going to be the good person for them because I'm whatever. Can you step in and I'll support you?
Yeah.
Or coach as a pair. Don't coach alone.
Mm.
Especially when you're but when you're met with serious resistance, dig into the resistance.
Mm.
Why is the
Why?
resistance? Yeah,
Yeah.
there's got to be a reason behind that,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Um, and a lot of times we as coaches when we try and coach the thing or the problem, that's when we are met with resistance. But if you're going to coach the person and we say, I'm not my goal is not to fix your problems, because that's not my job as a coach. My job as a coach is to work with you as a person to help you figure out stuff. You'll feel resistance when you're trying to fix problems.
Yeah.
If you say, let me coach you on how to do this job better, you will get resistance, because now you're trying to coach behavior.
Mm.
You cannot coach behavior. You can coach the person to think about what their behavior means to them. So,
Absolutely. Great answer there. And more comments, I think. Um, A lot of people love to cross the line, so it's always yeah, absolutely, Abe. It's good to set the boundaries.
mhm.
Great message from you, Anu. Thanks for making this happen, Mary. My pleasure. Now, back to I want to bring. Well, I had one question for you, Anu, but somehow I think you have answered it.
Mhm.
Which is doing nothing. Is that an option?
Nope, not an option. Um, the people who end up doing nothing are the people who complain the most, usually.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's like, I'm from India originally, and I'm from the land of Mahatma Gandhi, who says, "Be the change." Right? If you want change to happen, you cannot sit like this and say, "You boss, go change." It doesn't work that way. You have got to be part of the change. You have got to get things started. So doing
Hmm.
nothing is not an option unless you want to be miserable.
Absolutely. And I all absolutely love the fact that you said we have to be the change that we want to see. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a proverb where I come from
Yeah.
that when you point a finger, you've got four pointing right
Pointing back.
at
My
pointing.
grandmother used to tell me that.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's an African proverb as well.
It's an Indian
So
proverb as well.
interesting. So we always have to ask ourselves, what can I do? What's within my power to do? What do I need to do differently? And what change do I want to see? And how can I be that change? It's not always
Yes.
somebody else's.
Nope.
Sometimes it starts with us.
Hmm. And I will say, instead of asking the questions, what can I do to make the change happen? That can be too big for some people.
Yeah.
My question I always tell my clients is, what is the next right thing for me to do? One
Baby
thing.
steps. Baby
Baby steps.
steps.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Yeah.
What is the next one right thing for me to do?
Yeah.
And then figure it out, right? Take that next step, let it settle,
Yeah.
inspect and adapt, and then do what's next right thing to do. And if you just focus on that, it'll work out just fine.
Do it the agile way.
Do it
Baby
the
steps.
agile way, baby steps. Yes.
Baby steps, and inspect and adapt on that. Fantastic,
Yeah.
Anu. Fantastic. I think we have someone saying something. Okay, that's my mama right there. She says she's watching. Good evening. Nice to have you. And I have the acronym here. I think it's important that we bring this up. Think stands for be sure it is true. Now, you want to give somebody feedback, and I'm going to extend this to when you're making a comment on people's feed, because social media is becoming quite toxic. And one of the goals we have on this show is to create a safe environment. So, think stands for be sure it is true, it is helpful, it is inspiring, it is necessary, and it is kind. Let us be kind to one another. Now, WINFY, that is a liberating structure acronym, and that is what I need from you. That is what that stands for. So take note of this, and it might probably come in helpful for you when you need to manage. Sorry, not manage, coach. When you need to coach upwards. We're not managing, we're agilists.
We're not managing.
We coach, we facilitate, we lead.
Yes.
Yes. So take note of that, please. Let's see if we have any more questions. We're coming to the end of our show. Any more questions, audience? Thank you so much for being with us today. Now, Anu, can you tell us a little bit? We've got about 5 more minutes. Can you tell our audience a little bit, just in case they need your services, what you do?
Sure.
Fire away.
And thank you for that. I appreciate the opportunity to tell people what I do. So I'm an agilist, right, at heart. I'm a trainer and coach. And here I may put a plug for myself. I am the first Indian woman to get my certified Scrum Trainer certification. And I am the first Indian woman to have my certified Scrum Trainer, certified Enterprise Coach, and certified Team Coach certification. And that's a big deal, right?
Big deal.
Big deal. Because there is not enough diversity in the guides community. So my vision, my goal is to increase the diversity in that guides community, coaches and trainers. And my goal is to bring people of color, women of color is even more important for me.
Yeah.
So being a woman of color, I think it is so important that we grow our ranks as coaches and trainers. So that's one of my passions. As a trainer, I train all the Scrum Alliance certifications. As a coach, I also do coaching sessions. I do agile coaching. I'm also a life coach or a career coach. I do a lot of professional coaching stuff. I also help people get to the CTC in Scrum Alliance. So as a mentoring, so I do that as well. I'm happy to talk to anybody about it. As I said, my passion is women of color. So while I will never say no to helping any human being on the planet, I will do anything for a woman of color.
Yeah. And I understand where that is coming from, because I train people who want to become Scrum Masters, aspiring Scrum Masters. And for me, I often say, as much as it is a business, it is a mission.
It is a mission, yes.
It is a mission. I also want to get more and more, diversity in that space, because we don't have enough diversity in that space at all. And we need more people to invest in themselves and come into the agile space. And I just want to use this opportunity for those of you who are watching right now and you have no idea what agile is all about. Agile is a new way of thinking and working. It's a movement, and it's been a movement for over 20 years now. And
Mhm.
organizations are transitioning to the Agile way of working. A lot of organizations are going through what we call Agile transformation right
Mhm.
now, especially with the challenges that we have had
Yeah,
with,
yeah.
within these COVID times. Now, during COVID, some organizations went into administration, and that was because they were not flexible enough to adapt to the sudden change that they were faced with.
Mhm.
Whereas organizations that were already on their agile journey, it was much easier for them in terms of business continuity.
Yep.
And lean is about minimizing waste. So if you want to know more about agile, by all means, check out on Anu on LinkedIn. Check me out too on LinkedIn. We are both on LinkedIn. We
Mhm.
are trying our best as agilists to bring more women and men of color
Mhm.
to this professional space. And guess
Absolutely.
what? It pays so well. It
It
pays
does.
very well. But of course, you must be self directed. You must be someone who is, self driven, someone who's a learner. It's not something that's just going to happen overnight. It is a journey. If you want to become an agilist, it will gladden my heart so much. So reach out to me, reach out to Anu. This is what we do for a living. Okay. So check it out. I think we have another comment there. Okay. Don't forget the concept. Yeah, that means what I need from you. Absolutely. Thank you very much there. So we have come to the end of our session. Please, if you're joining us for the first time, kindly subscribe to Sincerely Agile with Mary. And Anu is on LinkedIn. She's amazing. Please
Mm.
link up with her. Let me bring up her name again. That's her name right there, Anu Smalley, right? She's
Thank
the
you.
founder of Capella Consulting. She's an expert in executive coaching and agile transformations. Anu, I cannot thank you enough for the time you have invested here with us
Wow.
today. And to our audience, constantly, every Sunday, without fail, showing up here every Sunday. I thank you so much. I appreciate your time because, quite
Mm.
frankly, that is the best gift you can give anyone. You could be
Yep.
doing anything else, but you chose to be here. And I hope we have not disappointed you in any shape
Mm.
or form. So thank you all very much. Yeah. So thank you all very much. I think I have one more comment there. That's Stella. Daly was also listening. Well done, coach. Thank you very much, Daly, and thank you for always showing up. And thank you. Oh, thank you so much, Stella. So have a lovely Sunday evening, everyone. And it's a long weekend here in the United Kingdom.
Oh, enjoy
Yes, it
your
is.
long
Yeah,
weekend.
yes, it's holiday tomorrow. So yeah, enjoy your holiday, everyone. Thank you so much. Anu, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much, Mary. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.